There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. In this place, it's much better than tomorrow.
And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In the place you felt there's no hurt or sorrow.
There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living.
Make a better space. Make a better place.
Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me.
If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie.
Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving.
If we try, we shall see. In this peace we cannot feel.
We don't dread, we stop existing and start living.
Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing.
So make a better world. Make a better world.
Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. And the world we once believed in will shine again in grace.
Then why do we keep strangling alive when this earth crucified soul?
Though it's plain to see, this world is heavenly. Make us close.
We could fly so high, let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brothers.
With no fear, together we cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares.
We could really get there if we cared enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place.
To seal the world.
Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me.
There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. 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 You and for me.
our
you and
children.
for me, you and for me,
For our
you and for
children,
me,
the world we
you
live
and
in.
for me,
For our
you and
children,
for
the
me,
world we live
you and
in.
for me.
For our children. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar series. We are now in webinar series number 14. And our topic for today will be about virtual classroom management. We are very lucky to have one of our master teachers, again, from the senior high school department to discuss with us about the new normal in virtual classroom management today. So without further ado, let me just ask Ma'am Floriza P. Gurango to be with us. Okay, good morning, ma'am. Kamusta po kayo? Pa-unmute po, ma'am. Hindi ka po naririnig. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, maganda umaga po muli sa inyong lahat. At kamusta, ma'am? At how are you doing ngayon?
So far, we're still good together with my family. God's blessing po. Kumusta din po sa lahat?
Nice to hear po. Opo.
Thank you, sir.
So, ngayong umaga, no, kakaibang topic yung ating i-discuss dahil sanay tayo sa face-to-face interaction together with our students. So, paano nga ba? Yun nga sa face-to-face, di ba ma'am, parang mahirap nga po yung classroom management di ba?
Opo, yun nga.
Kasi you are handling what? 40 to 50 students, ano? Sa senior high, medyo mas konti. Pero kung sa junior high, mga 40 to 50 students, paano ngayon kung hindi mo sila nakikita? Ano? At hindi mo talaga sila kasama, no? Hindi mo na monitor yung kanilang ginagawa. At the same time, hindi naman pwede laging naka-on, ma'am, yung video. Kasi kakain siya ng internet bandwidth, no? So, yun po yung mga challenges ngayon sa new normal. So, sige po, without further ado, let me just ask you to start with your presentation about virtual classroom management. Okay, so off po muna ako ng aking video at audio. Good luck po and God bless sa yung presentation.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, you may go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So again, good morning, Sir Peña. Good morning, fellow teachers. Welcome to today's session of our webinar. I'm Floriza Pigorango, and I'm going to talk about the virtual classroom management with the following objectives. First, explain the differentiation between distance education and online education. Discuss advantages, disadvantages, and limitations of virtual classroom for teachers and for students. Discuss the features of a virtual classroom. Give tips on virtual classroom management. Introduce ways to manage virtual classrooms. Okay, so those are the objectives of my webinar today. So online instruction prevents us from using many of the classroom management strategies we've become accustomed to. No stern glances, no detentions, the boy and girl seating arrangements, no monitors for the attendance. We may not be able to count on our students to come to class. These are the usual activities we'll surely miss this school year. But think about what is possible. Forget about all the things that we can do online and be ready to take advantage of the opportunities that online instruction presents. We have to see ourselves as leaders rather than managers. Managers have a fixed idea in mind of outcomes, like students will be able to, and then of course, our expected outcome. And it's our responsibility to ensure our students meet the outcome. It doesn't matter if students buy into the goal or if we think they're ready. One way or another, we have to force our students to get there. Not that it's our fault as teachers. Our students all take the same standardized test. And if our students don't master grade level content, we are answerable to parents, to principals. Remember the famous line, what have we done? And even other teachers until now. Kasi ako din po, especially if my student belongs to the top performing students, tinatanong ko talagang subject teacher, ano ba na-miss ng bata? Then sasabihin ko sa bata para aware siya, pag sinabi ng bata na nag-submit siya, and then I send him to the teacher, things like that. We have a rare opportunity to stop managing and start leading our students. It means letting them take responsibility for their own learning. If we take advantage of this new opportunity, we can help our students become more motivated. Instead of fighting with them to do work, we can help them achieve their own goals. Besides, we don't really have a choice, and that is true. If we are unable to motivate our students, they may not show up, or they will tune in and fool around during our lessons. And we don't want that to happen. This doesn't mean that online learning is a free-for-all. Online classroom management is a delicate balance. You need to set a tone for what the new normal will look like. Students will feel safer if they think we have things under control. So before I start the discussion, let's have a self-reflection. Let's all ask ourselves. If you have mirror beside you, can look at the mirror and ask yourselves, am I still effective as teacher? Okay. Okay, so let us leave the question hanging for a while. We will answer that a little later. I will read a brief history of online classes. How did it start and when did it start? And I will try to connect it with the virtual classroom. Actually, it is just an excerpt from a study. I just took for a few paragraphs then that I think could be of help to me in my discussion. Distance education is defined as a method of teaching where the student and teacher are physically separated. It can utilize a combination of technologies, including correspondence, audio, video, computer, and the internet. Today's version of distance education is online education, which uses computers and the internet as the delivery mechanism with at least 80% of the course content delivered online. However, distance education is not a new way of teaching. It can be traced back to as early as the 18th century. Its evolution and progression over the last 300 years run parallel with innovations in communication technology, and distance learning continues to grow in popularity. So distance education was, I cannot read. So distance education was began in the 1900s with the advance of online technical revolution. I hope you can read. It is far from a new phenomenon, but it continues to reach new heights as the development in technology advance. So what is a virtual education or a virtual classroom? A virtual classroom is an online learning environment that allows for a live interaction between the tutor or the teacher and the learners as they are participating in learning activities. In other words, the virtual classroom is a shared online space where the learners and the tutor work together simultaneously. A virtual classroom is an asynchronous-based online learning environment that delivers course materials to learners and provides collaboration interaction using an asynchronous-based forum as the main platform to support the learner's independent study. Okay. So what are the features of a virtual classroom? First, it may contain class activities, group and individual learning activities, discussion and chats with students, parents, and guests, quizzes and surveys, homework activities and assessment documents, full online courses with modules of work, and forums and synchronized chat sessions. Okay, so we are all familiar with these activities because we do this also in the traditional classroom, except for chatting. Now let's proceed on the advantages of virtual classroom, both for the teachers and the students. So for the students, first, virtual classroom remove the need to travel to a location in which to participate to a lesson. So students can participate to the class anywhere he or she is. Next is, virtual classrooms can be accessed from any computer that has the necessary software, hardware, internet connection, internet browser requirements in order to participate in the virtual classroom. So it's good that our students will be provided by gadgets with specs compatible with the debit requirements with, of course, internet allowance monthly. So I think it's really an advantage on their part. Next, accessible to students with physical disabilities. An advantage over the real classroom for them because they can access it from home. Next, time independent, meaning students can access the course materials and activities such as the how do you call that, the worksheets in the virtual classroom at any time convenient for them, or the activities we send to them. How about for that? So those are the advantages of online classes for the students. How about for the teachers? Okay, first, the teacher is not required to work from an office or classroom to instruct lessons or organize materials and lessons, because this can be done from anywhere where they have access to a computer with internet connection. Next, electronic content can be updated more efficiently than printed materials. It saves the teacher's time and, of course, money when preparing and adjusting materials to suit their lessons to the virtual classes. So if the lesson is not realizable to the other class, teacher can easily adjust his lesson based on what a particular class needs. Now let's proceed on the limitations of virtual classroom, both on the part of the students and the teacher. Limitations for the students. First, equipment requirements. Students who do not have computer or gadget will have to go out and look for a computer shop, or maybe some might need to travel. Next is delayed feedback. It may be hours before a question is answered by the teacher, of course, depending upon the signal and speed of the internet, or vice versa, before the student sends his feedback to the teacher. Like what we experienced last summer, we would give the activity to the students and then they send back the answers the following day, or at most, pag may load na uli sila. So teacher cannot do anything but to wait. For the teacher, actually, it's only limitation for the teacher. Okay, the teacher must develop educational content that is interesting, relevant, and important to students in an appropriate format, using synchronous and asynchronous communication tools, which is a difficult task. And I can relate to this because until now, to be honest, I'm not yet acquainted with these tools. That's why if there are webinars on e-learning system, nanonood po talaga, and it really helps. Okay. Now, the common challenges that affect the new normal education. First, internet access for all. It's good that the city government of Manila is really doing its best to its full capacity by providing our students not only gadgets but also internet access for them to cope up with the new normal education system. So I think it would not be really a challenge for them. Next is passive learning students. Passive learning students. This is a challenge on the part of us teachers because unlike in the face-to-face or traditional classroom situation, in virtual classes, it would surely be a one-way classroom situation wherein we will do most of the talking and they would just receive. Yun nga, kaharap po natin sila sa classroom, passive sila. Hindi ko naman nilalahat, how much more in the new normal na nag-uusap lang po tayo sa pagitan ng computer. So talagang minimal interaction is expected. Next is assessment of or for learning. Another challenge for us is how to ensure reliable assessment. Students have all the chances to cheat. Cheating is one text away from them whenever baka pag habang ongoing ang online assessment natin, meron silang sariling GC at nagpapalitan na sila ng sagot. So formative assessment, we can do it during the synchronous learning. But for summative assessment, let's use application with features that keep our exam secure and authentic. And of course, applications that would prevent cheating. So magandang suggestion po siguro yan mamaya para sa topic for the next webinar. Next is the art of questioning. This is another challenge for us fellow teachers. How do we deliver the question in a way students can easily understand? In questioning strategy and practice, one of the techniques Karam and Davis in 2005 suggested is to rephrase questions carefully, concisely, and clearly. In my oral communication subject, since it's a speaking subject, whenever my students don't understand my question, what I do is I rephrase it. Rephrase and rephrase until they get it. For example, so first day of classes ko last school year, I asked my students, who among you has has a hard time speaking the language? Who among you has difficulty speaking the language? And nobody dared to raise hand. But when I rephrased my question to, who among you has difficulty in speaking English? Then they started raising hands. So it's just a matter of rephrasing. One of the techniques. Next is insufficient learning resources. So another challenge teacher has to face teaching resources such as laptop and other teaching equipment for online classes. Not everyone is capable of providing learning equipment for online classes. So most of us cope with this challenge, or to cope with this challenge, we have to resort to loan sharks. Internet connection also, may laptop na tayo, connection naman ang problema. The same goes with our students. Though we really appreciate the effort of the city government, may mga students pa din po tayo na mahihirapan sigurong sumabay sa online classes. Tulad ng may mga 2 o 3 silang nag-aaral sa pamilya. Kasi nga po, yung free gadgets ay per household ang distribution at hindi naman po per student. So could you imagine a virtual classroom, 35 plus students and 5 of them without gadgets? It's really hardly a learning environment. Next is teachers training. So I fully agree with this. Everybody knows that the COVID-19 pandemic has forced an unprecedented rush to convert our teaching and learning environment to remote online options. It's a massive shift that really puts the teachers sa atin po in situations we are not really accustomed with. We really are lacking in terms of teachers training sa ganitong sitwasyon na online classes. Though we are provided with online webinars, that it is really working to prepare us to cope with the situation for this new normal education. The time frame allotted is really not sufficient. Parang almost a little less than 2 months na na-prepare tayo. In one webinar I watched, the speaker emphasized that the teacher for online classes should be trained for at least 6 months to 1 year para makabisa po talaga yung sistema sa online teaching. So we might ask ourselves, are we really ready? Next is limited intervention. Another challenge for us to cope is the limited intervention. Since face-to-face is not allowed, how do we attend to our struggling students? How can we make ourselves available to struggling students? This will be tackled later as I go along with my discussion. So let's proceed on the next, which is the literacy rate. What is literacy rate? Adult literacy rate is the percentage of the people ages 15 and above who can both read and write with understanding a short, simple statement about their everyday life. That is according to macrotrends.net. Very common problem on literacy is understanding or comprehension. So sa senior high schools, we have students who can read but cannot comprehend what they read. And there are students also who cannot read talaga. Could you imagine a non-reader grade 11 students? So Ma'am Dakanay and I were actually planning to address this by organizing a DR class that we will start sana this June. But because of the current situation we are in, hindi po matutuloy at malamang madagdagan pa this school year yung problema natin sa mga non-readers. So these are the challenges that affect the new normal education. Okay, how can you make your virtual classroom more pleasant and rewarding? Start with improving your virtual classroom management skills. Which traditional classroom management strategies and approaches can you apply in the virtual classroom? Kasi maaari pong meron tayong strategies, classroom management that we do in our traditional classroom that we can also apply in our virtual classroom. So what teaching styles and methods can you use to be effective in your online lessons? I have tips for you. First, set your rules and expectations ahead of time. It's important to establish clear rules and expectations regarding student discipline, participation, the study process, deadlines, etc. Explain the reward systems that you will use. Di ba sa totoong buhay naman po, binibigyan natin ng mga students natin ng smiley, yung iba likes, merong pa-chocolates, things like this as rewards. Pwede naman po sa online, yun nga lang po, virtual rewards. Be sure you present the rules in a positive way. For example, instead of saying, do not interrupt your classmates, you can say, please use the signal icon when you want to participate in the discussion to ask questions. All the rules need to be simple as possible and easy to follow. Present your students with their duties and responsibilities during the study process. Walk your students through lesson structure and the routine that you want them to follow. So from the start, dapat malinaw po sa klase natin kung ano po ba yung ini-expect nila during our lesson. Discuss the rules and the norms with your students. Let them be part of the process of establishing rules. Ask them for ideas and suggestions about the structure of the lesson. Let's explain the process from the beginning up to the, let them explain the process from the beginning up to the end. Okay. Isali po natin sila, kunwari may rules po tayong gagawin. Ask them, what do you think would be the best rule during our class? You can give me idea. You can suggest something like that. So in a way, minomotivate din po natin silang mag-participate o mag-participate dun sa ating online classes sa pamamagitan ng pagsasuggest ng pwedeng maging rules sa klase. Use polite and respectful language and eye contact, no stern looks. Baka mamaya po mapicturean tayo without us na knowing it. Nakapost na po sa Facebook with matching caption. Explain what language and expressions are acceptable and which words are absolutely not acceptable in your virtual classroom. Okay. Dress code. Discuss with your students what is appropriate to wear during the live online class lessons. For instance, pajamas are not appropriate for the classes, even when attending the lesson in a virtual classroom for their own rooms. Pwede naman po silang mag-attend ng klase kung saan po sila komportable, kahit nga po sa room, baka dun mas malakas ang signal. Pero, of course, we have to guide them when it comes to dress code. No distractions. Tell them all phones should be muted during classes. Sasabihin po na, phone po ang gamit namin sa klase. Okay, so siguro po, be attentive na lang. So they're using their phone sa classes. Dapat nasa klase talaga yung attention at hindi may mga ka-flex na kung sino-sino. Okay. How to raise your hand in the virtual classroom. Ask questions, answer questions, and participate in the discussion without interrupting. Show your students how to use the raise hand button. Meron naman po tayo niyan, di po ba? when they want to ask or to answer a question or express an opinion. For this, you can use the chat features in the virtual classroom. Now, let's set an example for the behavior that you expect or that we expect from our students. Lead by example by following the established norms in terms of dress code. Hindi naman po siguro natin kailangan mag-uniform, but at least presentable naman yung bihis natin. Polite language, no distractions, etc. Because students will always notice if you are the one who isn't following the rules, which can lead to issues with discipline. Next, virtual classroom management. Tip number 2. Establish a routine. Students feel more confident and comfortable when the study process is well established and the procedures are predictable. When students know what to expect, when, for example, when breaking the rules as well as when they are showing progress, it is easier for them to follow the norms and to participate in the learning process. Follow the norms and the lesson structure that you established at the beginning of the course. For example, if you prefer to start the session by checking homework, do this step every time. It's good to have a routine for both the beginning and the end of the online session. Be sure to follow the established routine to make the study process more effective. Kasi po, pag nasanay sila na every meeting, nag-check muna tayo ng assignment bago magsimula ng lesson, hindi po yan natin sa klase na walang homework. Or for example, nasanay po sila na ang routine po natin ay 3 times po tayong mag-check ng attendance, virtual attendance. Hindi po yan mawawala sa klase natin kasi anytime pwede po tayong mag-check ng attendance. Next, number 3, deal with discipline issues in the virtual classroom immediately and without any exceptions. It is inevitable that you will have to deal with discipline issues, especially when tutoring groups and young students. Though yung atin naman po hindi na masyadong young. The best way to keep the balance in your virtual classroom is to deal with discipline problems immediately. It is a good idea to research various approaches for handling different situations such as distractions, interruptions, etc. Hindi naman outrightly or kumbaga instantaneously, you will deal with a student who misbehaved kasi mapapahiya siya. Just catch first the attention. Then keep a positive attitude and be respectful even when you have to correct an unacceptable behavior. It is recommended to talk to each student who breaks the rules privately after class to encourage them to improve their behavior and to figure out the causes of their actions. Siguro po, tawagan natin. I-chat natin privately. Okay? So, instantaneously, hindi po natin papagalitan sa harap po ng klase natin. Catch lang po muna yung attention. Then after class, kausapin natin. Next, number 4, include everyone and encourage questions. One of the most important things in online tutoring in a virtual classroom is to be sure that every student participates in the lesson. Encourage students to ask questions and to answer each other. Include various teamwork projects and divide the students into group working in different breakout rooms. Is it possible po ba mag-grupo tayo sa ating online? Pwede naman po yun. Kahit sa messenger lang, if you have 5 groups, then create 5 breakout rooms. You can name each breakout room based on themes or category. For example, theme or category is animal. You can name the first group the tiger group, giraffe group. If you want heroes naman, name the first group Rizal group or Bonifacio group, so on and so forth. For future projects, you can switch the teams around. Paghiwa-hiwalayin po natin yung mga active para hindi sila naipon sa isang group. It's a good idea to keep track of which students are the most active in asking and answering questions And then motivate the more quiet or the quieter learners to participate more. Encourage critical thinking and healthy competition in our virtual classes. Next is friendly but firm. Create a delightful and friendly atmosphere in your virtual classroom with a vibrant mood, fresh content, and interesting activities. A positive attitude is much more effective with students of all ages than punishment. And that's really true. Yung mga, at the age of our students now, hindi na po pwede yung punishment. Baka po labanan tayo. Can we be friends with our students? Where do we create barriers? How about social media wise? Okay lang naman maging friendly sa students, lalo na po yung sa lugar natin. But always make sure to put a demarcation line or barrier between you as teacher and him as student. Remind our students we can be friends, but don't forget, teacher pa din ako and student kita. So that the student would be always or would be aware of your friendship's limitation. Okay? In social media, be careful in posting sensitive status, especially when we have student friends. Kasi mababasa po nila. And what would be the implication in your part pag ang mga bata ay nakabasa sa wall natin ng di maganda? Ingat din po sa pagko-comment sa mga post ng bata. Students like teachers who are friendly but firm. Be easygoing and open-minded, but also make sure that everybody follows the established norms. Okay. Next, number 6, praise your students. One of the first things you need to establish along with the rules and norms in your virtual classroom is the reward system. Explore different ways of praising your students when they are making progress. You can motivate your students with different things like creating a list with top overachievers, meron ba nun? Overachievers, appointing them as loaders or as leaders of teams in projects, etc. So, pag nasanay po ang mga bata sa norm na kaya naging leader yung classmate niya sa isang group project or presentation is because reward niya dahil siya yung nakakuha ng mataas na score sa nakaraang test, mamomotivate din siya na mag-aral para mag-top sa test at ang maging leader din siya in the future. So in a way, it also serves as motivational strategy. All right. Okay. Number 7, be confident and positive. Online tutoring is an experience that cannot be described with words. Let your students see how much you like and enjoy your job by being positive and friendly in your virtual classroom. Teach with confidence. If you don't feel confident, do your best to make it look like you do, because otherwise your students will sense your hesitation. Magagaling po ang mga bata natin sa pagkilatis kung si teacher ay prepared sa pagharap sa klase o hindi. They know. They have the way to know. Worst is, they tell to other teachers what they notice dun sa isang teacher. Minsan kikwento ang bata, si teacher na naubos na oras pagkikwento sa talang buhay niya. Grade 8 pa lang kami, buhay na niya kinikwento niya hanggang ngayon, buhay pa din niya. So may isang comment nga po ang bata na halos nasubaybayan na daw niya ang pagdadalaga ni teacher dahil sa kakakwento ng buhay sa klase. So on the brighter side, at least buhay niya kinikwento, ano po, hindi buhay ng iba. So okay lang. Okay naman po magkwentang buhay natin as part of the lesson. If we think that would be a motivational strategy to our students. Pero kung every meeting, 5 times a week, kwento na tayo ng kwento ng buhay natin, that's not healthy anymore. That actually time-killing na po. At yun talagang mahalata ng bata na di tayo prepared. The best way to avoid stressful situations during teaching is to prepare in advance. Take some time to research different general scenarios, discipline issues, provocations, or other problems that might occur in the virtual classroom, and rehearse your response. You can write down different ideas for answers and reactions in cases of students misbehaving, and keep the list in front of you to use when you need it. The more you practice online teaching, the better you will be able to manage your virtual classroom with your own unique style. Okay, so those are the tips in virtual classroom management. Now let's continue on ways to manage virtual classroom. First, of course, ensure instructions are clear. Don't assume students know what you mean. You know what they say, that assumption is the mother of all mistakes. Rephrase if necessary. When your exams say choose the letter of the correct answer, it's really confusing. How do they choose the letter of the correct answer? By inserting or by boxing? So better say box the letter of the correct answer or encircle the letter of the correct answer. So make it simple, so mas malinaw. Next, present examples of expected assignments. Okay? So for example, ang assignment ko is letter writing. So that the students would know exactly what do you want them to submit for an output. But expect that the output will be identical. Kasi ganyan po mga estudyante natin eh. Ganyan mga bata. They will just copy. Iibahin lang ng konti. Mas lamang yung kopya. Or sometimes they would download examples from the internet. And they will just do something or some rewording. Nire-replace lang yung gawa natin. Okay lang po ba yun? Okay lang po yun. Kasi that is part of their learning. And that learning is called reading, writing, learner style. Okay? Di ba meron po tayong 5 learning style, and that is the 5th. If you remember the visual, the auditory learner, the kinesthetic, and of course, the reading and writing learner. Sila po yung mahilig munang tumingin sa example and then saka lang gagawa. Minsan kokopyahin, nire-reward or nire-rephrase na lang yung kinopya. Next, number 3, provide feedback to as many students as possible during discussions. Okay, feedback is commentary on the student work, individualized to best accommodate for the needs of each student personally, be it negative or positive. It can be in the form of phrases. Kunwari, a good job if the students really did a good job. If not, praise them still by saying, nice try, okay lang yun at least. You've tried. Or sometimes, sabihin ko po sa bata, almost there, kahit malayo naman talaga yung sagot sa katotohanan. Sabi nga po ni Bill Gates, we all need people who will give us feedback because that's how we improve. Number 4, make yourself available to students who are struggling. Yung kanina po sabi ko sa inyo. How do we do this? First, know what the student need. Alamin po natin as teacher, ano ba yung kailangan ng bata? Parang hirap po ngayon gawin niya. Does he have difficulty learning by listening, expressing himself verbally, reading written materials, so on and so forth? Ano ba talagang problema mo? Then, adapt your teaching strategy to the student's need. For example, you want the student to give the morals of the story. Yung po sa English, makaka-relate po sa example ko. Okay, you want the students to come up with the morals of the story he read or they read. But the student has difficulty expressing himself verbally. Then ask to submit a written report on the morals of the story or an artistic creation instead. Padrawing mo yung morals and then that's it. The student was able to express the lesson of the story sa ibang paraan lang nga po. Okay? So, kasi po, if we wait, sabi po ni Robin Jackson, if we wait for the students to fail as the first signal that they need help, our support will always come too late. And that is according to Robin Jackson. Next, keep goals and assignment organized. First, know your goals. There's definitely a right and wrong way to go about goal setting. If you don't set your goals the right way, then you'll most likely miss something, which will force you to go back and redo things or otherwise veer off track. Next, plan ahead. Once you have an idea of where your priorities are, another tip for managing your time is to plan ahead. The time you spend time thinking and the time you spend thinking ahead and planning your activities will be time well spent. Making to-do lists does take time, but it is time that helps but it is time that helps you effectively set goals for the day. Okay, so talaga pong malaking tulong yung una, alam natin ano ba yung goal natin, and then planuhin natin paano ba natin gagawin o i-execute yung goal natin. And then after that, eliminate mental distractions. Another way is eliminate mental distractions. Sino-sino po ba yun? Sometimes pwedeng si colleagues, tanong ng tanong, kung kailan ng pasahan ng worksheet, or kung kailan ng pasahan ng eyewall. Okay. Meetings, social media, Facebook, gumagawa ng worksheet, pero at the same time, nagmumultitasking, nag-Facebook, games. All of these things can take away the time we allotted to hunker down and get stuff done. Okay. So those are the strategies that we can use, we can apply in keeping our goals and assignment organized. Okay. Sabi nga po ni Ralph Waldo Emerson, a good system shortens the road to the goal. Number 6, motivate students to contribute fully. Okay. Motivation uplifts students' enthusiasm about the activities presented to them. Once they get motivated to achieve something by doing the task, they will eventually exert their full effort, time, and energy. While students are extrinsically motivated, if they do not enjoy what they do, they will still do so. To obtain the rewards or tokens. If our students are motivated, they would feel belongingness, or they would feel the belonging or the connection dun sa atin at sa klase, and significance when they have opportunities to contribute. Parang feeling nila, meron pala akong pakinabang, may nagagawa ko, parang hindi pwedeng umandar ang klase ng walang. Hayaan po natin mag-isip ang bata ng ganon, kasi in a way, that's part of our motivation to them. Think of all things you do that could be done by your students. Halimbawa po, bulletin boards, hindi naman po natin pwedeng gawin ngayon. Door greeters, even teaching some lessons. So, siguro po, pagawin natin sila ng mga virtual attendance, para lang po ma-feel nila na may contribution sila sa klase. Then after that, verbally appreciate how much they contribute to the positive classroom atmosphere. Appreciation. Siguro, thank you, or i-message niyo po siya, or ilagay niyo po sa, i-message niyo po sa wall niya, nakatag siya para mabasa. Appreciation po sa ginawa niya. Next, increase knowledge transfer. Knowledge transfer is the process or instance of conveying, copying, or causing knowledge to pass from one person, place, or situation to another. How do we do that? Incorporate realistic e-learning simulations. Realism and practical applications are at the center of knowledge transfer. Online learners must know why they learn the information and how to use it in the real world. Otherwise, they won't be able to put it into context or form a meaningful connection with the subject matter. Okay? So hindi lang po ituturo natin kung paano ginawa ang isang bagay. Ipa-explore po natin yung application sa bata para po mas ma-appreciate nila ba't kailangan naming malaman ito. Next, encourage knowledge sharing through online communications. Asynchronous learners are not in constant contact with their peers and online instructors. As such, they may not have the ongoing support they need to achieve their learning goals. Set up on an e-learning forum where online learners can gather, provide feedback, and address their concern. Social media groups are another great online collaboration platform. For instance, closed Facebook groups that allow online learners to post resource links, leave comments, and share valuable tips. So, para sa akin po, Facebook din talaga yung magandang platform. Para po, after ng klase, we can gather, we can talk about what had happened, ano po ba yung mga hindi pa naintindihan, meron pa po ba silang naman, then pwede po natin i-message privately. Next is, develop an online mentorship program. Mentoring offers online learners the chance to exchange information and experiences. Okay. Siguro pwede rin po nating gawin ito, online mentorship, pagkatapos po ng klase natin sa bata. Pag may mga bata po na siguro hindi talaga, medyo hindi naka-cope up doon sa lesson, siguro po yung messenger group, Facebook group will do. As long as ma-attend lang po natin yung bata at ma-mentor po natin ng maayos. Kasi alam naman po natin, yung pong situation natin ngayon, iba po sa face-to-face. Sa face-to-face kasi pwede natin paiwan yung bata. Gawin mo to as, how do you call that, intervention or reinforcement dun sa bata. Pero sa online class po, hindi natin magagawa except dun sa ano. Magagawa po natin, pero yun nga, online mentorship through Facebook or Messenger. Okay, to sum up, virtual class prevents us from using many of the classroom management strategies we've become accustomed to. No stern glances, no detention. We may not be able to count on our class or our students to come to class. Sabi ko nga, but think about what is possible. Okay? Don't forget, change is inevitable. But personal growth is a choice. Going back to my hanging question earlier, sa self-reflection po natin, are we still effective as teacher? Opo, pag kagabi nagtanong na po ako sa sarili ko, am I still effective as teacher? Of course, we are. The only thing is that we are not updated to the current learning situation we are in. But we can do something. Continue to learn by attending learning webinars. Ako po isang division, nakikijoin ako kasi I want to learn. We cannot skip change because change is inevitable. Remember, how others see you is not important. How you see yourself means everything. So your desire to learn and grow means a lot. So keep on learning. Keep growing, you just have to do something. With that, thank you so much for listening, watching, and keep safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Marambo. Marami pong salamat sa napakagandang mga insights na ibinahagi niyo po sa atin ngayon. For now, I will let one of our master teachers to be the moderator, ma'am, of the discussion. Is it okay?
Yeah, okay lang po, sir.
Okay po. Sige, let's welcome Mr. Marco Apolonio, the Master Teacher of Filipino and our OIC Head Coordinator of Filipino Department. Sir? Sir Marco, pwede na po.
Sir, wala po yung video, hindi ko ma-open. You cannot start your video because...
Ayan, okay na? Okay. Sige ma'am, at I'm currently attending another meeting with our...
Okay na sir, nakapasok na
as
ako.
of this moment. So iwan ko po muna kayong dalawa, naka-monitor lang po ako sa
Okay
inyo.
po, sir.
Salamat po. Go ahead, Sir Marco.
Okay sir, good morning everyone. Good morning teachers. Okay ma'am, congratulations. No,
Thank you.
napakahusay niyo pong ipinakita ang mga advantage and disadvantage sa virtual classroom. Ma'am, marami pong bumabati sa inyo rito, ma'am. Ang sabi po ay congratulations at sabi ni Mr. Benchi, very informative ang ginawa niyo pong pagtalakay.
Thank you, sir.
Sinasabi si Mr. Parayan, for 5 student kasi, 10 ang maximum yata ang makakasabay sa virtual. So, dun sa kaso na yun, ma'am, anong pwede natin gawin?
Wait, sir. Paano ko ba makikita?
Hindi, ma'am, okay lang. Ako na po yung nagbabasa ng tanong. Then, ang tanong po, ang sabi ni Mr. Parayan, for 50 student kasi, 10 ang maximum yata ang makakasabay.
Wait lang,
sa
sir, ha? Kasi medyo mahina yung dating ng sound.
Okay, ma'am. Okay na po, ma'am.
Paano po ba paano malaksa yung sound niya?
Ang sabi po ni Mr. Parayan, for 50 student kasi, 10 lang daw ang pwedeng maximum yata na makasabay sa virtual classroom. Ibig sabihin, sa 50 student natin, 10 yung pwedeng makasabay lang. So sa ganung scenario, sa virtual classroom, anong pwede natin gawin?
Pwedeng gawin saan, sir?
As a picture natin, kung wari yung 50 student mo, may klase ka ngayon, ma'am.
Okay.
Pero 10 lang yung kaya makapasok sa Zoom, Google Meet.
So, anong gagawin dun sa 40?
Yes, ma'am. Kayo
Sa
para
40.
makasabay sila sa learning. Kasi
makasabay sa
as of
learning.
now, kasi nasa virtual learning o virtual classroom.
Sa sitwasyon kasi natin ngayon, syempre nag-iingat din tayo. Siguro tanungin muna natin kung ano ba yung rason bakit hindi na makakasabay yung bata sa klase natin. And then meron naman po tayong mga pwede na worksheet modules. Kung talaga pong hindi kaya ng bata nung 4 na po, ang dami. Kung talaga pong hindi kaya ng bata, siguro po ay magsakripisyo na tayong mga teachers na gabayan sila dun sa paggamit ng ibang modality, tulad yung sa worksheet or sa modules, para lang po ma-accommodate sila. Siguro kanya-kanya din pong estratehiya tayo kung ano po yung mas komportable sa atin kasi lahat naman po tayo bago sa sitwasyon natin ngayon. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am, sa maliwanag at na pagsagot sa actually hindi naman tanong yung ginawa ni Mr. Parayan, parang nagbigay lang siya ng kanyang opinion. Now may tanong po si Mr. Fronda ng Mathematics Department, how can we control a disruptive behavior in our classroom without disrupting the lesson po? Ayun yung sagot tanong ni Mr. Fronda ng Math Department.
Pwede ba makita ko na lang yung paano ba to? Makita ko na lang yung questions kasi talagang I really have a hard time with my sound. Hindi ko alam kung saan ako paano ito lalaksan.
Okay naman, ma'am, naririnig ko naman po kayo. Yung
yung kasi yung sa inyo, even kay Sir Peña kanina, talagang hindi ko marinig.
Okay,
I don't know kung saan ako pupunta para mas malakas.
Okay, ma'am, at ulitin ko na lang po.
Sige nga, Sir Apple, uli.
How can we control?
Catch up.
How can we control a disruptive behavior in our classroom without disrupting the lesson po? Ayun yung sagot ni tanong ni Mr. Fronda ng math department.
How will we control
Oh, yeah.
misbehavior?
As a
Di ba
teacher.
na-mention ko kanina, hindi, pwede mo i-catch agad yung attention. Pero talk to the student later after class. Wag naman dun sa online class, during online class. Ika-catch mo agad. Immediately yung attention. Okay, pwede yun. Na-mention ko yun kanina. Pero sabi ko nga po, gagawin natin yung discipline right after the class, privately.
Yes, tama. Ma'am, do you think kaya yes possible na magiging successful ang module natin even na yung ibang estudyante natin hindi makapasok online? Magiging successful, magkakaroon kaya ng consistency sa pagsabay ng pagkasabay ng dalawang learner natin? Isa yung
Una, ano po ba yung measure natin? What is our concept of a successful class? Yung po ba, pag umattend yung more than 50% of our class, successful na po ba tayo? Or natuto yung ating klase, 80% of our class ay natuto dun sa lesson natin. Una, alamin po natin, ano po yung konsepto natin ng successful? So medyo broad po kasi.
Kasi nabanggit niyo po
paano natin i-gauge yung pagiging successful ng online classes? Anong basehan natin?
Ma'am, nabanggit niyo kanina yung disadvantage nga ng online virtual. Ito yung tinatawag ng illiterate ng mga bata, yung pag-literacy ng bata sa pagbabasa, reading comprehension. How can we assess that? So,
yung alin?
Kung module lang tayo nakapokus, kung sa module lang tayo nakapokus, ma'am, paano natin ma-assess yung bata when it comes to reading comprehension? Paano nakakabasa ang bata? Sabi nyo nga, ma'am,
That's really hard talaga nga po. That's really hard kasi ang reading comprehension naman, face-to-face talaga yung face-to-face situation talaga, yung kumbaga, magiging reliable yung assessment. Pag nasa online or virtual class, hindi natin alam, baka may nagdidikta sa likod niyan or nasa harap niya kasi siya lang naman yung kita. So, sa part natin, talagang mahirap po yan. Pero sabi ko nga, kanya-kanya tayong estratehiya. Kasi nga, pare-pareho tayong novice sa sitwasyon ngayon. Lahat ay bago eh. Kanya-kanya po tayong estratehiya na sa palagay natin ay magiging effective. And then, pwede po natin i-share sa iba. Kung sa palagay natin, magandang estratehiya to, baka gusto mong gayahin. So sa kunwari, dun sa reading assessment, matrabaho, pero gawin mo yan one-on-one virtually. Kunwari sa Zoom. Isa-isa pabasahin mo yan. Yun nga ang problema natin eh. Paano natin ma-assess yung reading comprehension ng bata? For all we know, nabasa na niya yan. O baka kagabi napaghandaan niya na yan. At yung nasa likod, nagdidikta doon sa mga tanong. So mahirap po talaga sa atin. Kaya lang, ang kanina nabanggit ko, sabi ko nga maganda sigurong suggestion for the next webinar, yung application na talagang mag-cater na mag-prevent ng cheating. I don't know anong mga klaseng application yan kasi until now, I'm also still exploring kasi nga ako katulad nyo rin, I'm still novice when it comes to the current situation. Just keep on exploring. Ang dami po sa internet eh, na pwede nating mga strategies na pwede nating i-apply sa virtual classroom. Kasi even though I was given the task to discuss about virtual classroom management, I just emphasize I'm also novice in this situation. I just did this through the help of researching also. And I hope you got something from this.
According kay Ferdinand Rotarta, ma'am, you are correct to mention that the presence of gadget in one home will be one of the crucial factor to virtual learning. Like in a family, there is a 5 student in different levels. Tama naman, ma'am, no? Na talaga ang problema talaga natin sa isang bahay, may 5 anak. So, yung gadget ang problema, no? Yung problema natin, yung gadget. Lack of gadget ng isang pamilya.
So is it okay? Papaltan ko lang yung ano ko. Paltan ko lang yung sa sound ko. Baka mas malakas ang dating.
Sige, ma'am.
Hindi, wala. I think wala problema yung audio ko sa inyo. Yung sa akin kasi, meron akong pinaklik na sound. Is it okay? Okay lang ba? Hello, sir.
Okay, summarize na lang natin, ma'am.
Ayan, okay, wait, sir, go.
Okay, dito ma'am, what can you say about your topic today, yung pinaka-message nyo to all teachers?
A message, I hope you got something from what I have discussed earlier. Sana po, sabi ko nga, pareho nyo rin po ako. We are all novice when it comes to this situation. I just did some researching just to share with you about virtual classroom management. But still, I hope you got something from my discussion. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, nandito si Sir Penya.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. No. So again, thank you very much for that insightful talk. Ma'am, may request, paki-end nyo na yung screen sharing para medyo malaki tayo sa screen. Hindi tayo makita eh. Ayan. Okay. So, yan. Okay. So, it's better. So, thank you, Sir Marco, for pitching in for me. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, ma'am, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And once again, Ma'am Gurango, no, I guess ang bottom line ng ating topic for this morning, no, is virtual classroom management is a new thing for all of us. Okay. Kaya talagang sabi nyo nga ay novice tayo pagdating sa virtual classroom management. At talagang tayo ay nangangapa, no, tungkol dito sa bagong normal na ito tawagin. Kaya anything is possible. In fact, nobody is prepared for this kind of new normal situation. Lahat po tayo ay talagang naninibago. Kaya there will be a lot of periods of adjustments. There will be siguro trial and error in some parts. But don't worry kasi hindi naman tayo kailangan maging perfect agad, no? Sa unang try pa lang. So, continuous learning ang kailangan ng bawat isa. A lot of patience on the part of teachers as well. Hindi naman tayo pwedeng habang nagtuturo ay na-high blood tayo kasi hindi tayo makakapagturo ng maayos. At siguro maganda, everything should be prepared in advance para po ang maiwasan natin yung ano tayo, no? Nangangarag tayo kumbaga, no? Sa atin pong gagawin para sa araw na yan. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for gracing our webinar for today, Virtual Classroom Management, Ma'am Floriza Gurango. Marami pong salamat, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you may turn off your camera and your audio na po. I'll just give some announcements.
Okay, sir.
Salamat po. Okay, so for everyone who's still with us this morning, I'd like to announce that tomorrow will be the launching of our 11th founding anniversary. At in case you haven't seen the teaser yet, it's already in our YouTube channel. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we will watch together the video that was prepared for us by the MAPE department, the department who is in charge of our 11th founding anniversary presentation. So we'll be watching it all together tomorrow at 10 in the morning. And then at night, sa alas 8 ng gabi ay magkakaroon po tayo ng virtual concert to celebrate our 11th founding anniversary as well as our Brigada Escuela. This is a fundraiser event for our Brigada Escuela as well. Okay, so we already received several music videos coming from the teachers who will be performing tomorrow night. So excited na ba kayo? So surprise po muna kung sino-sino yung mga teachers na magpe-perform. At we will be having a night of original Filipino music in celebration of our Foundation Day. So ang theme po natin bukas, musika at pag-asa laban sa pandemya, Akinoyans kilos na. Okay, so let's all watch together at exactly 8 o'clock ng gabi. Sabay-sabay po tayo magsama-sama sa isang gabi ng musika at pag-asa. Okay, so thank you very much. And the evaluation link is already posted in PCCAHS family. You have a good day and keep safe, everyone. God bless us all.